This tutorial is for WritingPress. This is another of the applications available through readwriteworks.org. It's a site that allows students and teachers to search for curriculum and research and activities for their students. This particular application allows students and teachers to create newspapers, flyers, and signs, and brochures. While there are a myriad of packaged software applications and options for creating these products, I like that ReadWriteWorks requires absolutely no purchasing of a product or no setting up of an account. You just open it and create. There are some challenges with this site if you are trying to create a certain polished look, but if the goal is about communication and not the complete presentation, this works. This also allows you to provide an equitable opportunity for students to create some of those different types of documents, because you don't have to worry about a student going home and having access to Microsoft Publisher, whereas your students at school don't have access to that, or another student doesn't have access to that. So I think it provides a kind of an equal playing field for all students to create this type of assignment. So this is an application that I would use with my students for an activity like making a brochure. This is an activity that one of my fellow ELA teachers has done before, where she has students make a brochure for different topics that we've covered in class. So just to get started, again, with ReadWriteWorks, one of the things I really like about them is they have instructions embedded right there. The same instructions that I read as a teacher that my students would also read. There's a lot of little tips that are added through this one, but if you're just going for a basic thing, we click on it and we have our options of newspaper, brochure, or a flyer, sign / poster. I think I could use the flyer, sign / poster for when I do my PSA project at the end of the year. So this is definitely going in my back pocket as an option. But just a brochure option, I'm going to start with just kind of a little quirky template here. You choose the front and the back of your brochure, the way you want it laid out. And then you have the option of inserting images in certain areas and text in certain areas. Now, obviously, I can't move these around, so it is kind of fixed in that sense. When I want to do text, I just click on the box and I can immediately start typing my text here. I can change my font style, my font size, all the way up to 60. I can make it bold, italic, underline, and I can change my font color. I can also decide whether I want to left justify, center, or right justify my text. So there's just a lot of different text options here. Here I can insert an image, and I'm actually going to go over to this example here that I've already started, where I've typed in some text. This is for a brochure for a club that I run at my school, the Cardinal Reading Club. And so I've already got kind of like on one side of it the information about the club itself, and then on the other side I'm adding information about our Lit Fest. And now I want to go in and add some images. So I'm going to start with this one. It's our Cardinal Reading Club image, and then I'm going to add this little Lit Fest image. because we want to go to the Lit Fest in Topeka. And I'm just going to add some images for the books. I'm not sure for my other images. So I'm just going to add a second picture of my Lit Fest here. So now that I have this all set up, I can click next. I do want to pull out the tips real quick. So just gives you some information on how to actually publish a brochure, what its purpose is, explains how the format is going to work, that certain areas are going to be on the front or the back. It does look like you can enlarge your images here as well, or just take a picture with a camera, which I think is kind of interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and click next, and now I have a preview. I can zoom in, zoom out. Okay. And then I have the option of sharing, sending it through email, printing it, saving it as a draft, or saving it as a final. So this is a neat little website if you are just trying to do some basic publishing with your students. Maybe you don't necessarily want to get into all of the expensive software that's out there, or maybe you're just trying to provide some sort of an equitable option for all of your students to be able to create something that looks very similar, but with their particular idea in mind. Go into my ISTE standards. I have ISTE student S6D. Students publish or present content that customizes the message and medium for their intended audiences. Obviously, they had 3 different options there, so we would definitely talk about how each of those, in my class at least, talk about how each of those are appropriate for different audiences and purposes. Also have ISTE Educator 6C, create learning opportunities that challenge students to use a design process and computational thinking to innovate and solve problems. I kind of focused on the design process of that particular standard. A lot of my students struggle with the idea of learning process. They just want to create a final product. And so having an application like this allows me to teach them that before we just sit down and start doing this, we need to have some text already written up. Yes, we can sit down and look at the different formats that we're going to need to fill in, but it requires them to go find some pictures. It requires them to have some appropriate text and think about the message that they're wanting to send before they just sit down and create a product. So this, I believe, is an opportunity to help teach that idea of design process in English language arts. So that is my tutorial for printing press through readwritethink.org.